Hey guys, welcome back once again. Thanks for watching, blah blah blah. Earlier tonight, I watched The Box with James Marsden, Frank Langhella, and Cameron Diaz. Unfortunately, you don't get to see Cameron Diaz's box in The Box, but hey man, she's old. I still think she's alright. The Box is an adaptation of a short story by Richard Matheson called Button Button. It was earlier adapted into a Twilight Zone episode in the 80s called Button Button. Premise is the same in, I think, all three. I haven't read the short story, but I have seen the Twilight Zone episode, so I'll do a little comparison. But story is the same in all three. A financially struggling couple get a package at the doorstep. It's a box, like this old school wooden box with a dome, like a little glass dome, and a red button, and a key to open the box and press the button. So Cameron Diaz and James Marsden are the couple that get this box, and then they're approached the next day by Frank Langella, who I guess you would call the villain. Is a guy with a half burnt off face. He had some sort of burning accident. He tells Cameron Diaz that if she opens the box and presses he gives her the key and says, if you open the box and press the button, two things will happen. One, someone you don't know will die, and two, I will give you $1 million. And like I said, it's the same premise as the Twilight Zone episode, and as I imagine the story, I imagine that the Twilight Zone episode stuck closer to the story because it's a short story. This is a movie. Like I said, I've seen the Twilight Zone episode. Spoilers. And it was actually pretty poorly done. I haven't seen too much Twilight Zone, so I don't know if they're all this bad, but it takes a good premise. I guess it does what it can with it story wise, but it was bad acting, bad camera work, just really bad early 80s TV. And the couple, they get the box, they sit there for, you have 24 hours to decide what you're going to do. You could not press the button or press the button. They press the button, and the guy shows up, gives them the money, and as he's leaving, they say, what do you do? What now? He's like, well, now I go give the box to someone else. And they're like, who? And he says, don't worry, it's someone that you don't know. Which is, I guess, implying that's what I got out of the episode, and the movie definitely, I guess, took the same message out of it, which is the next person that opens the box or presses the button will kill them. Will kill the last person that did it. Cool. That's a great premise, and that's what mostly makes the movie work for me. I liked the box a little bit. Wasn't a huge hit with me, and I think most people will hate the box, but I actually kind of appreciated it as it like went along. I appreciated it more because not only does the box adapt an old story, instead of trying to update it for modern times, which I would have been fine with that too, but interesting choice. They set it in the late 70s. So you have this cool costume and set design shit. I love the 70s. It's like the best decade ever. Not only do you have this cool period stuff that they do, like just with the setting, but it feels like a movie that could have been released in 1982 or 83 or something. From the look of it, and not just what the people are wearing and the cars they're driving, but just, I mean, it looks fine. It looks like a modern film, but just the look of everything, um, the music. I saw someone on Netflix, like a Netflix user, said that like it was like 1950s creature feature music. It kind of is like that. It's like it sounds like Twilight Zone music, and it plays a lot throughout the movie, and that's cool. Um, just a lot of like old school touches. To me, it felt like with the director, it felt like the director was strongly influenced by Kubrick, especially The Shining, and like John Carpenter. It was like the movie felt like a cross between John Carpenter and Stanley Kubrick. Not as successful as either director, but meeting somewhere in the middle, inspired by both, and not like most people won't like it, but I liked it. Uh, People hate it because it doesn't explain well what's going on. Like my problem, or going in, my fear was that how are you going to stretch this simple little story about this box that these people push the button and they kill somebody and they get $1 million? How are you going to stretch that to a hour and a half, 2 hour movie? Well, the way they do that is by making that premise the first 30 minutes and then going into a bunch of other weird sci-fi shit beyond that that ties into the story eventually at the end, but like it goes off on like this tangent about, lightning and fucking the government and NSA, and it goes into like exploring what where Frank Langella's character, the guy with the burned face who brings the box, it goes into exploring where he came from. People won't like it because there's not a lot of violence in it, and it's weird and it's hard. It'll be hard for most people to follow, and people will be like, "I don't get it. What happened?" Like at the end, because not everything is like clearly explained. It's ambiguous. It's intentionally ambiguous. It doesn't tell you everything. It doesn't tell you who these people are. They're doing these tests on people with the box. And I get that. I've read a lot of sci-fi stories like that. I've seen a lot of movies that are completely ambiguous like that. I've written stories like that where I swear to God, I've written a story where like this guy was getting terrorized by these people that were from like this higher up group that ran shit. It's like a classic story element, like the higher power that is actually running things. You don't know what they actually are. It's like Stephen King, the low men in yellow coats. That's what they are. They're the fucking low men in yellow coats. What else do you need to know? I don't know if I'm rambling there, if that doesn't make sense, but these people that are doing the tests on humans with the box and the button, you don't need to know exactly who they are. They're the people that are testing you. That's all you need to know. They're the higher beings. So I appreciated the movie because it was doing like a common story that I liked, and it was going for a throwback feel of like a late '70s, early '80s horror, sci-fi, thriller movie. It's not, believe me, it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I didn't buy Cameron Diaz and James Marsden together. I didn't think James Marsden is really good, that good of an actor. That's like that. I think he's Cyclops in the X-Men. Like I definitely didn't buy him as a scientist. I was like, really? I guess he's adequate for what he is, what he's expected to do, but there's no connection between those two characters, and I had no connection to those characters. It is like admittedly a little slow paced, and it focuses too much on Frank Langella for part of it. It's not a great movie. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed it. I appreciated like the small goals it set for itself and it kind of accomplished. Different from you could go see Saw. I think they came out in the same month. You could have went and saw Saw, and you've seen Saw 6 times before. This is something that feels like a different era, a better era of horror. A good rental. Not a great movie. Don't get mad at me if you don't like it. 3 out of 5 stars.